Whether your beer is in a bottle, can, or glass, kick back and relax. It's better on draft.
Welcome, everybody, to the news segment, Better on Draft podcast. My name is Ken. Thank you so much for joining us. It is 7 p.m. Eastern as we go live each and every Friday. You could join us, twitch.tv/bod podcast, betterondraft.tv, or facebook.com/betterondraft. We appreciate you joining in the chat. You could join us in the conversations if you want, of course, talking to us live. With me are my co-hosts, starting with Robert. Robert, how are you and what are you drinking?
I am doing fine. Right now, I am drinking, I'm double fisting. I have the Galactic Extra Dark from Big Drop Brewing, nice little 0.5% non-alcoholic. And also, I picked up a little whiskey, specifically Monday Zero Whiskey. This is non-alcoholic whiskey. So I'm going to be trying this tonight, see how this goes.
Rob out there participating in the damp January, because I know he's had a few drinks this month. Speaking of damp January, the inventor of damp January, Wendy, how are you? What are you drinking?
I am fantastic. My damp January hit a little snag, so I am actually drinking an NA beer today. I have the Untitled Art non-alcoholic juicy IPA, and I'm super excited because I also have a Florida Vice on tap for next.
And finally, taking his break from the Daytona 500, Nick Paglia, sponsored by everybody in the world. What are you drinking over there?
I am drinking a Rochester Mills milkshake stout and a Rochester Mills Imperial milkshake stout.
Perfect. For me, I've got some wines, actually. I've got some NA wines, some Groovy. I got a dry Secco and a bubbly rosé. I have so much non-alcoholic beer because I expected the Lions to be losing a lot more than they did. So I had purchased beer in hopes of that, not hopes of that. So I am going to be participating in Dry January this month. So we are going to be starting off with the wine. With this, as you guys may or may not be aware, we did have our interview with Big Drop Brewing Company earlier today at around 2 o'clock because they are in the UK, which means we are just doing the news segment live tonight. We are going to start off with Rob's news segment, but I am going to play. You don't have to chug since we just started, but I am going to play.
Here is Robert with the beer news.
It is Robert with the beer news. Robert, what kind of news you want to chat about today?
The thing I wanted to chat about today was something that kind of hit last month in the less than great state of Ohio. Because, you know, that's all you can really call it. It's our doorway to everything else, unless you're going up north. But there was a new bill that was signed by Ohio Governor Mike DeWine, which opened some new possibilities for makers of homemade beer and wine. The bill, Senate Bill 102, is allowing home brewers to make beer and wine without a liquor permit, serve it on private property, and host events where their products are served. Now, those events can be held on their own property, at a fraternal organization, or at a small brewery, winery, or micro distillery, or at a restaurant associated with one of those businesses. Now, there's a little bit of background that goes into this because a couple of years ago, apparently there wasn't anything on Ohio's books to say whether doing this was legal or not. So in 2 years later, which I know it takes a bit to come up with a law, but damn, I got to wait 2 years for this, for them to have some sort of specificity into what is legal and what's not. Now, the part that is still in there that is not legal is that it is not legal that homemade beer and wine can be sold at any of these events. So basically, this is, you're bringing this stuff, everybody's drinking this, and they're not I guess they're not paying a dime, so to speak. I mean, I don't know if there's anything in here where it says you pay money towards going to the event, and maybe that goes toward the home brewer. Who knows? Maybe there's that little loophole that's in there. Now, the law does allow political or charitable organizations to give away beer or liquor as a prize at a fundraiser, but it must be bought legally in Ohio. So there's that whole buying part that's in there again. Now, the law does mean that homebrew clubs can meet at breweries without having to shut a brewery down for the public, which honestly, I haven't been to any of those gatherings here in Michigan. And I guess until after reading this, I wasn't sure if those gatherings were even happening in Michigan in, pre or post COVID. Now, there is another change that's in the law that is actually two more. One that it's allowing it's actually lowering the age at which a server in a hotel, bar, or restaurant can handle open alcohol containers from 19 to 18. And it's also changing the number of alcohol permits needed for and I did not know they had this acronym or initialism rather, called DORA, which is Designated Outdoor Refreshment Area. And so they've changed the amount of alcohol permits that are needed from 3 to 2, and that's going to allow smaller areas to be able to have outdoor areas, much like we've had here in Michigan during pretty much a good chunk of 2020. So I guess going off of the first portion here with the legality of making homebrew beers and being able to take these things to events, being able to have clubs meet at breweries and things of that nature. I guess my question is that, I guess first, have any of you been to any of these gatherings that have happened, or have they happened here in Michigan? I guess, what is that like? And I guess, how do you see that helps not only the home brewer, but the brewery? Because obviously it's not the brewer's beer, but you're letting this club come into your brewery to drink their beer and not your own. I don't know how I feel about that. I'm gonna start with Ken on that.
Most of these homebrew clubs, when they're local to somewhere, they're also guests of those places. They go to those places, they buy, they drink, they eat. They go more than just for those guilds. So, for example, like the Coonan Brewers Guild, those people go to Coonan to drink Coonan beer all the time. So they're not really taking money out of, say, like the pocket of Coonan. Like if they're eating up seats and eating up space and getting rid of customers because customers are upset that they're loud or something like that, sure. But this just seems like a lot of red tape for a thing. Like, for example, if we wanted to go, this seems like it would allow us, if we wanted to go maybe do a show somewhere and bring our home brews, and maybe we wanted to do a homebrew podcast, but a brewery wanted to sponsor us, or maybe we were part of a brewery's homebrew club. So I think there's just a lot of unnecessary red tape that existed probably for one reason or another that just did not need to exist anymore. And with regards to Michigan, there's probably a handful of laws that we do or do not follow. I don't know what it's going to be like whenever we do a bottle share again in a line. Because even though that's still illegal, do you really want to touch things that other people touched recently? Like, I'd be, or, wait in close proximity. Like, remember the Perrin line? Oh my God, there were so many bottles on the floor, and
yeah.
Obviously illegal, but who's to say, if long as nobody shows up, or no cops show up, I should say.
Right, if cops show up. And I'm trying not to laugh right now because I have the Facebook feed going on, and it has the closed captioning going on. And every time you said Coonan, it spelled it 4 different ways. It went from Koonan to Kunnin to Koninn. So it's all over the place right now.
I'm actually surprised it actually gave 4 different spellings to even begin with.
It's just throwing it in there. So I guess the other piece, I'll ask this one to you, Nick, with the change in the law of people being able to handle alcoholic containers changing from 19 to 18. I guess, what do you think that does in I guess, in terms of the businesses, and is that going to make, I guess, I don't know, is that going to make getting employees and being able to do this easier now that you can go 18 instead of 19? Or
I don't know if really going an extra year down it was really gonna make that much a difference. I mean, I don't know. That's a tough one.
And the thing is that we just had we had the conversation with Rob. I think it was last night. Park, was it Park? I think it was Rob Park. Rob with Big Drop, and we were talking about
Rob
Fink. Thank you. I should have thought of like Terry Funk. I would have got there. I know I went there. We were talking about the culture and how it's different with, you know, minors over there drinking as opposed to where it is here, where we just, you know, we turn 18, we get to college, and then all of a sudden we're bonging Zimas and throwing up in somebody's garden.
And then a lot of other worse things on top of that too.
Right. And with 18 here, I guess handling open containers, there's I don't want to say that there's this disgusting thought of, you know, temptation that suddenly younger kids are gonna start taking a sip before they take it to the table.
I mean, isn't that kind of what's happening what is it in Michigan? Isn't it 18 in Michigan? Yeah, I mean, you go to a bar or you know, or even where you go to a strip club and then you have an 18-year-old handing you a drink. I mean, okay, fine, all right, whatever. But you know, that's the extreme example. I don't know. I have a hard time believing that changing it by 1 year in the going in the, you know, towards more minor than anything is really going to make a difference for employment purposes. I just don't see it happening, especially nowadays when there are so many job openings across the country. Right. I don't know if that's really going to if that plays a factor into all of this as well, but I don't know.
Who it'll be a big deal for is those 18-year-olds.
Oh, it's like, I get to handle.
Now they can get a job at
a brewery,
a brewery, or at I want to say cool place. I only have one set of
but
quotes though. So,
but at the same time, as an 18-year-old thinking, I want to get into craft beer. That's at that age.
Might be. I know some.
They might.
I know a lot of people who their kids, friends of mine who. Their kids have been watching them and going with them to breweries for years.
Well, then I guess those are cool kids.
They want to be at a place where they can use their knowledge rather than going to work someplace fast food or something along those lines.
Wonder how their parents would approve, if their parents would approve of something like that, or they just wouldn't care. It's like, you know what, you're making money. You're contributing to society, so to speak. That whole argument, that conversation.
This is the argument is literally just so that they can serve beer correctly.
Correct.
Yeah,
correct?
I think that's all it is. Yeah.
So then why would their parents not approve of them getting a job?
I don't foresee any reason to not have any 18-year-old. I mean, you are an adult. You can go fight for this country and die, so you can serve a beer because you're not going to drink it. And the fact that you're serving it instead of not being able to touch it is not going to make you want to drink it anymore. Like that's the thing is that if I go to a restaurant, I go to a Buffalo Wild Wings and my server, let's pretend this is Michigan and my server is 18 and I order a beer, she has to then go bother someone like a manager to go bring me a beer, and that hinders the people who want to hire. And you know, as much as I'm for, if you want to hire people, pay more money, you still need to, there's still a lot of people that aren't looking for work in the restaurant industry anymore.
Right.
And it's just the thing, like the job rate, what's the unemployment rate, the job loss claim rate, whatever that is, whatever the words I need to say that involve job loss claim rate. That's the lowest it's been in a long time. So people have gone and found other jobs it's just like you need to be able to do it. And this isn't like, oh, trying to get McDonald's to hire 14-year-olds or 12-year-olds or something like that. Like this is letting a person old enough be able to serve out, do the job to the fullest. Cause I mean, if they're 18, they can go strip. They can't serve me alcohol.
That's true. That's true. I guess, and really the only other thing I was thinking of, I guess somewhat on a parallel with this is sometimes when going to grocery stores and just grocery stores or retail stores where you're purchasing alcohol, the person who is working as a cashier, if that person is I think it's under 21, that they are not allowed to essentially sell it, which I'm kind of like, how far from having it surrogate is it 18? Okay,
it's 18, but I've seen it enough, especially like summer afternoons when like the kids just started like their brand new job at 16, 17 at Kroger. They're like, I can't touch that, I'm sorry, hold on. And then you see them have to get a manager. I feel so bad. I'm like, I get it. But even that, like, I can understand not being able to handle illegal products under the age of 18. But at 18, you just need to be able to touch it. Fair.
I think the last part here, the changing of the alcoholic permits needed for designated outdoor refreshment area from 3 to 2. I guess the part I was kind of thinking about that was, in some cases, there just aren't enough places in an area to create a refreshment area. And hey, if you got 2 breweries, then make a refreshment area. But thankfully, you don't have to have 3 or have to have 2 breweries and some store, just to say 8 Degrees is in the area or something to that effect. But I guess, I don't know. I'm kind of thinking about, with it being down to 2, what other benefits are there to that, other than just there's not enough places to be able to I guess to make an area of sorts.
So I don't think it's the fact that there aren't enough outdoor recreational areas. I think it's creating this unfair advantage to places where there's only 2 versus places where there are 3 or more. So you just are lucky enough to be in, say, a area that has 2 or 3 places that you could create this drinking district. Whereas if I'm I'm going to use the example over in Troy, there's like, a B-Dubs and a Joe Coolskis. So there's, 2 bars, one's, a main chain, one's not. They can't have an outdoor drinking district, even though, they have a shared parking lot. But I can go into, some random downtown area, and because there's 2 bars and a third place, the diner decides to get an alcohol license, now I can have a drinking district. So I think it's just better for businesses to be able to have it at 2 just to give you the reason to have it, because there's no reason to have it at 1. There's only 1.
It's only 1. It's just the only place.
I just don't think there's a reason to have made a minimum of 3.
But actually, that kind of puts me to the question I actually wanted to ask Wendy. In terms of these drinking districts, I don't know, maybe this is kind of a status report on those. Do you think these drinking districts are going to just stay permanently? Are they still a good thing?
I do. I think that you will find people are going to really like it. Every other state that I have been in that has districts like this, people just enjoy it. And I know we give Ohio a lot of slack because we're from Michigan, but they have some really good beer there. And when I have been to Ohio to check out their beer, I've gone to multiple places at a time. So having the drinking districts will make that easier for people to go out and experience that.
Shout out to Rheingeist, Listerman, a few of the others that are there in Ohio. So they do make some damn good beer.
They do.
All right, that is my news piece for the evening.
Well, thank you so much, Rob.
I'm going to crack open this Untitled Art S'mores Dark Brew, which is also non-alcoholic.
That did not come in my pack. I'm very
Courtesy of, and a quick shout out to the Metropolitan Variety Store, Mr. Ashley Price, for having this on the shelf, as well as the Zero Whiskey, which I've been seeing ads for it and never had a thought that I was actually going to be able to get it, and suddenly he had it in the store this week.
I have friends that really like the non-alcoholic gin, so I'm interested in seeing how that whiskey tastes.
A lot of the non-alcoholic spirits, because a lot of them are true non-alcoholic, you can buy them online. Usually Amazon carries them. So, but Nick, you got an article in here. Talk to us.
I mean, mine's kind of more fun talking. That's more fine. Than anything. And I know I haven't really done an article in a long time. So I figured, why don't we just do a fun one? So it turns out that for those that are football fans, 3-time Super Bowl champion from the Dallas Cowboys, Troy Aikman. Yeah, I know, because Rob's giving him the he's a Terry Bradshaw kind of guy. Why? He's a Steeler. That's your team.
Yeah, but he's starting to show some CTE right now.
Yeah, well, he's been. I don't think it's CTE. I think it's something else. He's kind of loopy in the head, but that's a different discussion.
Yeah, he's gone full Gran Torino.
Gran Torino. Oh, so he's gone. Clint Eastwood is what you're saying.
A bit, yes.
A bit. Well, anyway, Troy Aikman, yes, he's a Super Bowl champion 3 times over and a color commentator on Fox on Sundays. He is now getting into the business of beer with his own beer called 8, because 8 was his jersey number. Go figure. So not only is he getting into the beer business, he also has a car business, a chicken wing business, and he's also in masonry as well, which is kind of weird. But anyway, but what's interesting about this particular, it's a light beer, mind you. It's only going to be available in bars, restaurants, and stores in the state of Texas. Now, the Dallas Cowboys are quote unquote America's team, Dallas fans all over the country. If you are a Dallas Cowboys fan and you live in a different state, would you really want this beer knowing that it's your team, it's America's team, that sort of thing? My question to you guys is, it doesn't have to be a sports figure. Which one, is there somebody you would love to see put out a beer after being away from whatever it is that they've been doing for all these years? Is there a celebrity, a artist, a politician? Hopefully not a politician, but is there someone that you would love to see put out a beer with their name slapped on it? And what kind of beer would you want it to be?
Ooh.
Rob's in deep thought already.
I mean, when you said politician, the first thing I thought of is like a Bernie Bach.
So you're going for Bernie Sanders.
I mean, I was more going towards the alliteration than anything. Like,
okay,
maybe a Hillary Hellas.
Ken's playing play on words. Donald Doppel.
I'm coming to you once again to ask for all the malts and grains.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, there obviously, if there's a band that I have an emotional attachment to, like, I would probably go after it. But in like sports figures, I would definitely.
I mean, it doesn't have to be sports figure, but okay.
I mean, let's stick, because I know we've talked about this before. We've had this conversation, especially with like musical artists, because a lot of musical artists have made beer. But if you give me like, give me a Darren McCarty or like anyone from like the 90s, early 2000s Red Wings, like I would probably buy that in a heartbeat. You give me like a Mike Vernon or a Cujo type of beer. I mean, obviously we have people who have made restaurants in here, Dino Cicerelli, Chris Chelios.
Chris Chelios, yeah.
You know, they've invested in the city itself. Maybe even a Mike Ilitch, hot and ready pizza, pale ale.
Would a pale ale go good with a $5.55 hot and ready?
I don't know, but use the spent grain to make my crust. That's my
that right there. The way Motor City Brewing Works uses their spent grain to make pizza crust. It is absolutely amazing, and every time I get a chance, I go there for that pizza just for the dough itself. Shit is amazing.
Probably raise the cost of a hot and ready though.
I mean, it's already going up to $5.55. So what's
right?
More
They're adding more pepperoni.
They're adding more pepperoni. That is correct. Yes. All right. So Ken's thinking late 90s, early 2000s Red Wings. I mean, you know, Darren McCarty has his own line of marijuana products now. So
which McCarty would make sense because then you would get a Czech pills.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ooh. That's a good one. All right. Let's go to Wendy. Wendy?
So I don't have anybody that I'm like, oh, they should totally make a beer. But
Sure.
I am going to throw out there one more time, Jason Momoa, we are waiting for you to open a brewery in Detroit. I just want to keep putting that out there in the universe because I hear that if you do that, things will start to happen. I would totally be all about that. I don't have anybody specific that I have in mind, but if somebody that I knew or I like had something come out, oh hell yeah, I would be the first person standing in line to buy it.
So since Wendy's on the Jason Momoa thing, maybe not so much beer, but what about an Aquaman Aquavit?
Oh, that would be awesome. I've been on an Aquavit kick lately too because I got the strawberry one from Norton's.
I just sent a bottle of that to my friends in New Hampshire. I've been waiting for them to tell me what that is like.
Speaking of alliteration, Andrew Carr in the chat says the ICP IPA.
Oh good
geez.
Lord.
Yeah, all right.
They would never do that though.
Nope, they wouldn't. And being someone who listened to them growing up in high school, I just don't see them drinking IPA at all. Watch. You meet Violent J and Shaggy Two Dope in real life. They're probably some of the most elegant drinking beer drinkers, or they got the most expensive scotch and whiskeys and all that at their house. And no one expects them to be doing that. They expect them to throw Faygo at you. So that'd be hilarious. Rob, what about you?
All right, so celebrity wise, I mean, I have to go with Dave Grohl. I would have to go with Dave Grohl. That dude's like my superhero. I love that dude. So I would say him. And as far as the beer, I feel it's got to be something kind of dark in tone. I'm kind of feeling like a Doppelbock. So yeah, I would say that. Sports wise, I would probably go with Jerome Bettis.
Oh, Detroit Renaissance, right? That's right? Was it Renaissance or King? No, Renaissance.
It was Renaissance.
Renaissance. Okay.
And I think for him, that style, I mean, he's an everyman, and straight up blue collar, beach ass. And even though the stat line would say that he's like, 6'1", 275, and people are like, "Are you really 275?" He's like, "I'm not telling your ass shit," because we all know that dude was like 310. He never admitted that shit. But I would say for him that I would want like easy drinking, but kind of like sneak up on you, like the one that drafting table made, I forgot what the hell it was. It was like a double. I think it was it a double Pilsner? I think it was like a double Pils or something like that, where it was it was just a straight up Pilsner, and it tasted like it was 4%, but it actually was like 9.5. So goes down easy, but puts you on the ass.
All right, there you go. Me personally, and now I'll pass it over to who wants to go next. No mention of the Lions, no mention of the Tigers. Maybe like a Justin Verlander Vienna Lager or something like that. I would love to see Justin Verlander come back to Detroit and try and win one here, but we all know that'll never ever happen. He loves it in Houston where they cheat too much.
He'll retire a Tiger, but I doubt he's coming back anytime.
Yeah. He'll sign like a 1-day contract, retire as a Tiger, and that'll be the end of it. So, I don't know. Maybe we can hope out for Matthew Stafford to come out with a beer in Michigan. I don't know. Maybe my hopes are a little too high, but
yeah, he'll probably
it'll
make a beer and then it'll let you down at the finish.
I mean,
we'll call it the Interceptor.
The Interceptor. Oh my goodness!
I laugh because I have no idea what that means.
Well, Wendy, it is your turn for an article. Give me something to talk about.
All right, so I have been off for a couple weeks thanks to school. So mine is actually came out in December, but I wanted to touch on the fact that Sweetwater Brewing has acquired Green Flash and Alpine Beer out of California. I was reading the article and it said that their West Coast lifestyle that is part of these breweries' DNA aligns perfectly with their 420 lifestyle and Sweetwater's brand. They plan to add 12 new positions along with $2 million investment in the Western markets. This comes right after they opened their second brewery location in Fort Collins, Colorado, which is going to officially open to the public now and is set to begin production in early 2022 for distribution. So I was just wondering what you guys think of that. We talk a lot about the like the Bells and that other brewery that we don't talk about expanding and acquiring and selling, and I just wondered what your guys' opinion of Sweetwater doing this is.
I mean, part of me just kind of feels kind of glad about Green Flash because of everything that they have kind of gone through with being this. I mean, they were a huge brand. They were distributing in all 50 states. And then just, I don't know if it was just like, just sales and just distro and just everything that just came with running the business that made them damn near shut down. So I guess it's good to kind of see something coming from, the beers that Green Flash was putting out to be able to put them out again. And clearly, I would think that they're probably not going to have the same like large amount of staff that Sweetwater is going to allow. But I think these breweries that get bought up. I mean, at this point, it's just kind of okay. I mean, even when Bell's got purchased by Lion, they didn't say anything's changing, so okay. Whatever. As long as they're still putting the stuff out, then hell, just keep putting it out. So I'm kind of, it's happening.
Anyone else?
I mean,
Nick.
I think it's business. That's just business. I think it's companies want to grow, they want to expand. It's a business opportunity, especially if someone's willing to sell their business. Happens all the time. I can't say that I know enough about either of the breweries to be frank, but we see mergers and acquisitions and sell-offs all the time. It's just the way business is done, and both sides obviously saw a gain, maybe financially and maybe strategically for both, for the purchaser, and they want to capitalize on it. They see something there to expand and grow their business. So you really can't fault either side for wanting to do what they, that they created, or that they helped build up from ground up, So I can't fault either side. That's just business. And for some, it might not be a good thing. For others, it's probably a good thing. But for the everyday consumer like us, it probably won't impact us all that much in the end.
I think it's going to give them a little bit more of a footprint in other markets other than just beer, because Sweetwater is owned by Afria, which actually is now Tilray, and Tilray is one of the big global cannabis companies that's out there. And I should know, because I used to actually have stock in them and kind of made a little bit of money off of them. But with being a part of Tilray, it is almost kind of like a Two Roots kind of thing, where I kind of see them obviously still dabbling in beer. I mean, you've got, I'm not sure exactly how long Sweetwater's been around, but Green Flash has been a brewery since 2002. So it's not like they don't know how to make beer for the last 20 damn years. And maybe it's just time that, with all of these other alternatives that are coming up with non-alcoholic beers, with CBD drinks, and cannabis drinks, and non-alcoholic whiskey that I'm drinking right now, that maybe it's just another move to help distribute into the new business market that's going to be coming out. Because as Ken and I had talked with Rob earlier, that these markets with these newer alternatives and drinking non-alcoholic beers is only going to get bigger, and we're going to start moving more into the CBD and the cannabis, and maybe that's a big part of making sure that they have these acquisitions and grabbing Green Flash.
Green Flash,
I agree with that.
Green Flash reminds me a lot of Allagash and Clown Shoes and a handful of other breweries that, in a world where there was less than 1,000 craft breweries, they would get distroed into Michigan. You'd pick them up over at Merchants or Champagne's, and that's just kind of where it was. Whereas Green Flash realized, and a lot of these other breweries, Allagash, is that you could compete when there was nobody to compete really with locally. So you could ship out all this beer, and if all your competition is other state beers, or and the handful of in-state beers, your Founders, Bell's, Shorts, you could easily shoehorn yourself into a market and compete. Now, if say a brewery, let's say Weathered Souls, we had Marcus on a year and a half ago. You can go check out that episode. Weathered Souls wants to distro into Michigan, Detroit. Well, now you got to go up not only against all the other out-of-state breweries like Toppling Goliath, Great Lakes Brewing, Rheingeist. I think Rheingeist just made it up here, didn't they? Did I make that up? I might have.
I don't think they've been here yet.
Yeah, they're here. I think
Oh, they are? Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
So all these out-of-state... Yeah, I was going to say maybe not. All these out-of-state breweries, though, and now you got to go up against Brew Detroit. Depending on where you are, like say you're in Detroit, Brewery Face On, Eastern Market, Ferndale Project, Roke, Dark Horse. I'm trying to think of like really, really locally. Atwater,
NBC, Ferndale Project.
I said those.
Oh, you did. I did. Sorry, I didn't. I bet.
You still got to go up against Dragonmean and Coonan. They're distroing. Mm-hmm. You got to go up, like, you have all of this competition hyper locally, and then you have Shorts, Dark Horse, what's the Bells, Founders, New Holland,
Some Bros.
Yeah, like there's just so much to go against when you're coming in. So I think a lot of these breweries, like I mentioned, were able to come in here and sustain, but now, you need to do something like Modern Times, where you're just gonna do a run, small, short, easy, and then you exit and you come back when you're ready to come back.
Can we just start calling that the McRib principle?
The McRib principle. Sure, we can call it the McRib principle, the McBeer principle.
There.
I mean, I don't know if you guys feel the same way. I've got a big rant that I'm got like 1 or 2 more minutes to prepare for, so feel free.
No, I mean it makes sense because I mean we've seen all of these breweries that have come into the state, and and suddenly it's like I don't know, it's kind of like Niagara Falls. It's just like all of a sudden the beer is just cruising along on the river and everybody's enjoying it, and then before you know it, that shit goes off of the cliff and nobody thinks twice about Ballast Point, Terrapin, some of the others that have come here that we've as craft beer drinkers and traders and being in these Facebook groups of wanting to reach for the Treat House and the Trilliums that obviously those still don't come to Michigan and people still go for those, but if they suddenly started distributing in Michigan, I don't know what would happen. It was just suddenly like people would stop caring about it. So it would be good that places like those and others could do something as simple as just say, okay, here's a drop shipment. You guys are going to get this for a month or 2 months. And then we're done. It's high and by. We just dropped the beer off. We'll see you next time. And just wait for that clamoring for attention for the beer, and then just do it again. And just keep on doing it because people will continue to buy it as long as it's seen as a commodity of something that they can't readily get.
Yeah, I think that's if Trillium came into town, they would easily start sitting on shelves after 4 months. 100%. I'd put money on it. And I say this as if you go listen to the episode with Big Drop. Remember, I don't know if you guys were, but I remember, especially having a personal rapport with Great Lakes Brewing, the clamoring for Holy Moses to come back. And then Holy Moses came back in a special Christmas pack, and a bunch of people bought it because they had Holy Moses, and they're like, shit, we should make it again. And then they made it again, and then nobody bought it. It was just so annoying. And
breakfast stout.
Oh shit! There's two potentially 3-year vert over at Nick's corner store over in Ypsilanti on Huron and Huron. You can go pick it up right now. You can also probably get like a 2 or 3 year vert of KBS with all the variants. I mean, I don't want it, but you can get it. Folks,
just saying that's a perfect example of how that happens.
Oh yeah.
Everybody wants it. Everybody wants it.
But
I mean, I stood in line for an hour and a half to get it. The next year they released it, and the year after that, it's sitting on shelves.
I remember going from my place in Detroit all the way to Public House in Ferndale because they announced that in like 20 minutes they were going to tap CBS. I got there, they tapped it, and it was gone within like 20 minutes. If you didn't show up at like a Tuesday at 1:15 p.m., that's how crazy it got. But I saving mine for last because I am probably getting on a huge soapbox here, which I know this. I understand this. Nick's laughing. It happens all the time. We just accept it. But there is a problem in the craft beer community. There is a huge problem in the craft beer community, and I am willing to take the brunt to call out a lot of people. I made a post in a group on Facebook. We won't name them. It wasn't a local one. But I made a post regarding Dry January. And I said, hey, who's got some cool I was looking for beer labels, something to put together a collection of beer labels for an Instagram post or something like that. So I made a post, let's see some photos of some non-alcoholic beers. And the amount of toxicity I got in response to this, first of all, was god awful. I will admit I was one of these people years ago that would say something along the lines of, oh, you know, I would a couple years ago, let's say a decade ago, Ken, 25-year-old, I think that's my age. 25-year-old Ken would have said, oh, you're a quitter, you know, not drinking alcohol. Oh, you know, oh, what's the point? And this is also the same person where I probably, you know, because of the amount of money I didn't have, I was spending money on based on alcohol content, how much money I'm getting per drink and not necessarily flavor. So when I saw this post, you know, I let it slide. It's one person, but then it became 2 and 3 and 4. And, oh, I don't celebrate dry January. I celebrate dry hopped January. And it was getting to the point where I was leaving considerate responses. I wasn't saying anything negative back. And I'm saying, you know, some people prefer to, you know, go sober, prefer to take a break from alcohol, or learn. Like for me, I have learned a lot from not drinking alcohol over the past couple months, simply because you learn a lot about your relationship with it. And I invite everyone to take a break from alcohol to learn your relationship, learn what you want out of alcohol, learn what you want, because you may learn, 1, that you're not a drinker that you want to be. 2, you might be you might overdo it. And that doesn't mean that you overdo it every night. You might overdo it once a month. And that's still, you know, a lot to a lot of people. Understanding your relationship with alcohol is very, very important, but you can't do it while drunk. Because how many times have we drank and say, I'm never doing that again? We, you know, all the time. We've all done it. But these posts kept coming like, oh, I don't understand it. And then one hit me, and obviously and it said, you are ruining the industry by promoting dry January because these breweries are, you know, on thin ice or anything like that. So I was really like, you know, obviously it's not personal. They don't know me. I'm not even posting under my personal page. I'm posting under the Better on Draft page. So they don't know like all the things that I've done for the industry, the amount of work I've done in the industry. And I think about it and I'm like, am I really hurting the industry by producing it? And somebody said, you know, oh, well, you can't buy, you know, you're hurting their intake. And I'm like, you can buy gift cards. Gift cards are non-alcoholic. You can buy food. Food's non-alcoholic. You can like look to them to buy non-alcoholic drinks or carry non-alcoholic drinks from a third party because they can go buy cold brew coffee from Reputation or, you know, get not an espresso machine. Those are expensive, but get a coffee machine. You know, you can still sell non-alcoholic drinks and I can still patron your restaurant, your bar, your brewery without necessarily drinking. And there are, as we kind of talked about with Big Drop's owner, Rob Fink, there are ways to make non-alcoholic beverages. And I understand that a lot of breweries don't know if they can sell it, if enough people will buy it. And obviously your margins are thin already. You don't want to take a chance or a gamble on this. And I get it. And I'm not upset with you, but I didn't like, one, the toxicity of being like, you know, hey, celebrating dry January and like, oh my God, you know, you suck. You're a quitter. I'd rather have a double January on the rocks. Like I'm reading some of these comments here. Dry January is for quitters. But someone who is trying to understand their sobriety or trying to understand their relationship with alcohol, those are the kinds of comments that hurt that person. And I think anyone, including myself, again, I admit 25-year-old Ken would have easily said this. Understand those comments that you say can affect someone and you do not know what that person is dealing with their relationship of alcohol. And that is something you do not want to tempt fate with. That is my rant. I don't know if anybody has anything to add. It was, I know it was an opinion piece. I wanted to talk about it. But again, as someone who has been staying sober for a while, not drinking, and I still, by buy local. I still buy gift cards. I still buy food. Arbor Brewing Company probably knows my voice by now for all the times that I've ordered carry out from them. It's something that irked me, that I think the community's toxicity, you need to look in the mirror if you would respond to me that way if I said I'm celebrating dry January.
I mean, the whole hurting the industry, considering how the industry has evolved over the last 20, 30 years, where we've gone from, yellow beers, and pretty much all you had was either yellow beers or Guinness, to the craft beers that we have now, and all of the flavor options and adjuncts and things of that nature that people have been able to put into beers, to then take a different turn and start to go into making seltzers and making non-alcoholic beers, making gluten-free and gluten-reduced beers, that there's a whole bunch of options that are being made for people because they see that there are other people that want to come in and have a beer, but not be stuck in the bathroom afterwards, or be able to drive home, like a whole different set of options. And I guess just to say that it's hurting the industry is just, it's fucking false. I mean, there's too much out there. And like, whatever, like, I don't understand how somebody could say that and not see all of the changes that have been made. Yeah, it's just bullying. It really is. And it's just like, there's too much.
Of the people that did it were also in the industry. Like, I Facebook stalked them, and you see that they work for a brewery or they work for a restaurant. I'm like,
then make a fucking NA beer. If you don't make one and you can't bring a supply to the demand that's coming to your location, then shut the fuck up. If you
not everybody drinks beer.
Exactly.
If your brewery is not providing something for those people to come in and visit with their friends, you're already losing out anyways.
Right. They're like, I don't want to be there. If I'm walking in with, my kids and my wife, like, I'm the only one who's drinking, because clearly my kids are minors. My wife doesn't drink. So if I'm the only one, I don't want to be there, because it's just, there's nothing, there's no commonality for me to sit with my family while I'm the only one who's drinking alcohol. And it would be the same that if I'm with my friends. I have a friend who has celiac. I mean, basically, there are some gluten-reduced and gluten-free beers that are out there, but I mean, there's a small list of places that we can go together. So I'm not going to take him to Dragon Mead or Eastern Market and just sit there and just drink beer in front of him while he can't have anything.
Well, that and imagine, if you will, again, it comes back to, as much as you have medical celiacs, or, say, your wife chooses not to drink. There are people who can't drink or don't want to drink, or they're sober. There are people who may be pregnant that still want to go out and do something. Like, you're offering the ability. Like, I had a friend come over to my place, and I had NA whiskey, and I'm like, let's do shots. And it's literally non-alcoholic. There's not even 0.5% in there. It's 0% whiskey. And I'm like, but I wanted them to participate in the fun as much as they couldn't drink with us, because the rest of us were drinking. And we weren't getting sloppy or anything, but I'm just like, hey, let's do it. Let's add that socializing. And that's what the people who are sober, that's a crutch that they need, because if you give them the socializing without the alcohol, then they're going to want to come out. They're going to want to hang out. And I think that's an important thing for those who may want to do it instead of just sitting at home, because the second they sit at home, they're idle with their thoughts. Bad things can happen. But again, you're not killing the industry by doing dry January. If you feel bad, go buy a gift card. And honestly, or takeout food, and do what you want regarding alcohol because you do what you need to do. That's it. There's nothing else to add to that. Is that if you want to take a break, whether it's dry January, dry July, sober October, whatever, I want to give up alcohol for, the month of March so I don't drink during St. Patrick's Day. Make up your own rules. There is no right or wrong to do it. But again, as I kind of said at the beginning, everyone should take a minute to understand your relationship with alcohol, because it is a vice. It is a dangerous thing. It is a mind relaxer. It can mess you up. It can get you in trouble. But you won't know it unless you take that extra time. So that's my piece.
Right. And if you want to say that you have an issue with the industry and the industry is going to shit because we're doing it, then I will just make sure that you don't get my liver.
I want to throw one more thing in there too, because I have, over the past few years, especially since we started talking about dry January and damp January, I have friends who don't drink, and I have friends who have quit drinking during that time period. And a lot of times our friends will respond with, why? Or, oh, come on, it's just one. It's none of your business. That's their own personal decision, and we should be there to support them in whatever their choice is. Whether it's to have one drink or to do the non-alcoholic route, it's up to them, and we shouldn't be there telling them what they should or should not drink.
Nope.
That's it.
In no way, shape, or form.
Business.
Well,
also, I will give like a real quick kind of review of this Monday Zero whiskey. I guess imagine cherry Kool-Aid, but like only a quarter of the sugar, and then somebody threw some cayenne in it.
What?
Okay.
That's an interesting mix.
That was weird. So I had the Florida
weird.
Weiss from the Untitled Art, and it's delicious. You wouldn't even know that it was non-alcoholic.
Oh, this s'mores dark brew is absolutely amazing. I wish I did have more cans of this sucker, and for it to be, less than 0.5%, it's very, very good. I'm mad I did not get more than 2 cans.
All right. Well, we are just under the hour part, so I will cut it off there. Thank you so much for listening to the news segment of Better on Draft. We will see you next week. No matter what you think of your beer, we think it's Better on Draft. Have a good night.
Peace.